Welcome to the FFL Weekly, your one stop for all things fantasy football. Only here will you find expert analysis, magnificent takes, and in-depth reviews that will leave you wanting more. Join us on the season-long quest to find out who will be crowned the next FFL champion. Now, here are your hosts, Mark AT9 and Power.
Welcome in, everyone, to another week of the FFL. I'm your host, Power Source 55. Mark AT9 is unable to join today. He's on a flight. We'll be in soon, hopefully, to chat and converse. Huge week, week 14 of the season, final week. We are here already. Can you believe it? I cannot myself, and I can also not believe that I'm sitting here in the second spot right now. At 9-4, crazy stuff. We'll jump into a quick weekly recap before we get too far into it. Oh, hello, Feisty Asian. Thank you for joining. Really appreciate it. Let's take a look back at week 13. You know, week 12 did not really play out as I intended for the drama to unfold, but week 13 certainly did not go. What's the word they say? It went well, shall we say, for the drama. Andrew was able to win against Dash for the second time this year. That's never happened in the history of the FFL, so that's a good one for the books. You can see Drake May again, MVP frontrunner for the season, at least overall in NFL. Fantasy-wise, he's mid-tier. I mean, he's top 5, but I'd like to see some higher numbers in the 20s for him. But somehow he outdueled Josh Allen, who played the crappy Pittsburgh team. One of the big reasons Andrew's able to win this game. Allen only had like 3 or 4 points at halftime, so huge help there. And then obviously the Vidal versus Tracy here was the big difference in this one. Pretty similar wide receiver outputs, and then Bowers again coming through for Andrews. It's the second game, only 2 games this year he's done more than like 5 points, but we'll take it. Hopefully he can show up in the playoffs. Oh, we got Kevin Bruchère. Welcome to the chat, Kevin. Appreciate y'all joining. We'll jump down to those two teams. Speaking of those two teams, Andrew needed them to win just in case I lost to ensure that I at least make the playoffs. I'm going to have to sweat it out this week. But now I kind of wish they would have lost because now I got to sweat it out for the bye. And we'll get into that here in a little bit. But Jess held on. I mean, she was up big going into Monday night, and Brandon's kicker coming out of nowhere. The Boris guy, I think he was 4 for 4 at halftime. Or no, it was 3 for 3 at halftime, but they were all within 30 yards. So he only got 9 points, and they had the extra points. So he was at like 12 points, I think, going into halftime. And then he missed a huge 40-yarder in the third quarter, I believe. I'm sure Jess was watching this game closely. Maybe she wasn't. Maybe she thought she was comfortable with the lead, but he ended up missing that one, which was huge. He made another one later on, but it was enough. You can see the comparison here. Her kicker didn't show up at all. But I think the second time this season, Jess had Seattle defense, and they showed up big time, which was the difference in this one because both teams had a negative player. That's embarrassing to see. But more importantly, Jess got the win. She's up to 8-5. Brandon's still alive at 6-7. And then Clue, another solid win. He's been playing really well as of late. Jordan Love, a pickup off the waiver wire, came to play over Thanksgiving, 25 points. I'm not looking forward to playing him this week. And Rashid Weiss, another big game for him. Jefferson only 0.4. He's been disappointing this season because he doesn't have a quarterback, but Kevin's made up with it with Pickens and Rice. So. And he's also got the number 1 tight end, McBride. So, great game from Kevin. The Bucks, you know, he's been up and down all season. Gentie's been hit or miss. Henderson, I've seen some stats of how good he is, but the coach won't play him. So, it's tough situation that Nate's in, especially when his receivers don't show up. So McPherson made this game look a little closer than it was, but good win for Kevin. Rob playing Ross. I always get the names mixed up. Rob with a really disappointing week for him. He's been coming on strong over the last second half of the season. Probably been the best team overall. And he put up a dud this week. Only 66 points. Not his number one guy, Najugba, only 2 points. Shakir with a dud. McMillan's played well for him lately. Another dud. Detroit defense. So I think Rob was on like a 5 or 6 game winning streak and dud this week, which was good for Ross because he needed a win to stay alive, and he got it. So good win for Ross to keep things going. And another team that needed the win was Adam versus Ryan. Adam with a great showing from Mahomes. The rest of his team kind of floundered a little bit. This was another Monday night close game. Adam was up a solid amount, but Seattle's kicker was huge for Ryan, and as long as his defense there, New England had like 20 points at one point, which Adam was sweating it out there in a close one at the end, but he ended up winning by about 6. So Adam is still alive. We will get into those details later. Ryan has been eliminated with the loss officially. And the last game last week was Scott and Bijan. Mike, huge week. Only one to really put up a big number this week, 141. He had all-around great performances. Scott just ran to an unlucky game here that kicked him out of the playoff chase. 91 is not a score to sneeze at, Scott, but just had some bad luck this year game-wise, but I'm sure he'll bounce back next season. So another good game for Mike as he looks to be he's at 6-7, got off the pine there. I think he had 2-game losing streak, so he's right in the thick of it too. We'll jump real quick to our challenges, if I can get this up. So let's see, I think where we leave off. Last time we had week 11, I think, was Rushmore team starting running back the most rushing yards, which we had last time we talked, which was Kevin with a chain for Miami, had 120 yards week 11, so Kevin got the points there with Rob getting the high score. Week 12 was look at these TDs, so team starting QB with the most TD passes. Interesting scenario here. And week 13 was Lucky AF, the lowest scoring winning team. So week 12, again, Brandon with the high score. He just narrowly edged out Rob. I was looking at that. Rob had like 110.24, and Brandon had 110.52. So Brandon edged him out for the high score, which is interesting because Brandon, I think, has had 4 high score winners this season. Yeah, when you look at his total points, he's down at the bottom of the league. He's had some real dud weeks and some real big weeks. So he's still alive and up and down season for sure for Brandon. And then we had a first split challenge of the FFL history here with this new challenge series. Ryan had Caleb Williams who had 3 TDs and threw for 3 TDs, and Scott had Matthew Stafford who threw for 3 TDs. So congrats to you both. You'll be splitting $2.50. If you'd like to donate that to the show, we much appreciate it. And then week 13, as we just mentioned, Mike, huge score there, 141.84. And Adam had the lowest score, winning 82.24, which is kind of crazy if you jump back real quick to the results, because if you look at all these other scores, almost everyone else had a higher score than 82.24 outside of Ryan and Doc. So a huge win. Adam needed it for sure, obviously, but he got lucky this week for sure. So that is a fitting challenge win. So again, then we're gonna week 14 is first loser. So this will be a great one. The first team that just misses the playoffs. So as we know, almost everyone's still in this thing, and so that'll be a fun one to determine who's going to get the $5 there. Recap: Survivor Series champion this season was Doc Robert. Doc Robert got $40 coming his way. And we want to take another time out here to notice we're going to get into playoff scenarios of how good this schedule was this season. There was a lot of talk early on about setting the schedule and how divisions were set up this year. Some people didn't like that, but as we go into the final season, there's 10 of 12 teams still in this thing. I think we did a great job scheduling. So shout out to the master scheduler of the FFL. That's Andrew. And, just another shout out to the commission. That's Andrew. And the whole draft, Andrew. The general manager, Andrew. Finance guy, Andrew. By the way, some people still owe me your payouts. I got to get in touch with you all so you know who you are. Please reach out to me before I reach out to you. And all these other positions that are, managed by Andrew. So, again, there's time to shout out to all these positions are open to qualified applicants. So please apply today as we go into 2026 season if you'd like to hold any of these titles. All right, with that, we're going to jump into playoff scenarios for the teams that are still in it. So first, we're going to start with Scott and Ryan. Here are their playoff scenarios. They don't have any. They've been eliminated. Ryan 3-10, Scott 4-9. Really down season for Ryan in terms of his history with the FFL. I always, of course, expect him to bounce back next season. Hopefully this isn't a trend for him. Scott's been up and down himself here in his short tenure. I look for him to stay competitive. I appreciate him, obviously, making some waiver wire moves today. I think both of these teams can obviously play spoiler for this week for sure. So glad to see they're still in it. All right, so first we're going to start with some of the easier ones, maybe. I don't know. These were, I was working through them. They're kind of hard to explain myself, but I'll do my best. Call this group the clinchers. So these are the 9-4, 8-5 teams. So 5 of the 6 playoff teams have clinched. That is Alex, Andrew, Kevin, Jess, and Rob. So congrats to those 5 teams. Excellent seasons. Much deserved to be in. However, none of these teams have clinched that coveted bye week. So obviously the top 2 teams get that bye in the playoffs, which is huge. It gets you in the money and, obviously prevents you from some random bad week that happens to everyone. So we want to get that bye. So for that to happen, we started with the most probable scenarios, I think. Alex, he can, as long as he wins, he will be in, or loss, and he has to outscore Kevin, Jess, and Andrew, because if he loses and Rob wins, he will not, based on what Rob's total score is for the season, he will not outscore him. He'll be more likely to outscore Kevin, Jess, and Andrew because he is currently 50 points ahead of all 3 of those teams at a minimum. So I think Alex is in a pretty good spot, even with the loss here, for that bye. Andrew, on the other hand, he's got to win. This is the only game this week where you have like we'll show you when we get into the details of like a playoff team playing a playoff team for sure. So this is a big game. A win by Andrew will get him in for sure. That'll give him the 10 wins and give him the bye. Or he could lose to Kevin by less than 12.72 points. So Andrew and Kevin's total score is the closest of pretty much any of these scenarios right now. There's only 12.72 separating us, Kevin. So if I can lose to you and lose by less than that amount, along with outscoring Jess, and I'm currently up by, I think, a healthy amount over Jess. So even if she wins, it doesn't really play here. But I also need a loss by Rob if I lose, because Rob has like 100 more points than me total. So a lot of little things need to happen. If I lose, hopefully the easiest pass for me is just a win, and I'll get the bye. Rob, if he wins and Andrew loses, he just needs to outscore Kevin and Jess if they both win. So if Kevin and Jess both lose and Rob wins, actually, this is where things got tricky. So if Kevin and Jess lose, then that means Andrew wins and Rob can't get in. Well, Alex loses. So he needs, this should say Alex. So if he needs to outscore Alex and Jess, if they both win. So right now he's plus 100 on both on Jess and myself. So I don't know, a lot going on here. Rob wins, he's in a good spot. He needs a loss by Andrew and Alex, or at least one of those two, and he'll be sitting pretty. So again, Kevin, we talked about this one. So Kevin wins, outscores Andrew by 12.72, and Rob loses, because again, Rob has about 100 points on Kevin, so that would give Kevin a 9 wins, Andrew 9 wins, and Kevin would get the tiebreaker of the points as long as he gets an additional 13 if he beats Andrew by about 12.73. So Kevin's got a good path ahead of him as well, especially since Andrew's MVP Drake May is on bye this week. Jess, I think, has the longest shot of all 5 of these teams to get to the bye. She needs a win. And the way I was trying to figure this out before I got on the show just broke my head. So if Kevin loses, that means Andrew wins, which means Jess can't get that pass. So she needs Kevin to lose, Rob to lose, and Alex to lose. But then she needs to outscore Alex and Rob and Kevin because they'll all have the same win total. And right now she's down by 90-ish on average to those teams. So she has the longest shot to get into the bye week. But any of these things can happen, and they all are still alive. So good luck to those teams. We'll jump down to the 6 and 7 and 5-9 teams. Called this one the sweat. So these guys are going to be sweating this weekend. Nothing's guaranteed for any of these teams. There's one spot left here. This is huge. So again, shout out to the master scheduler Andrew on this one for scheduling an awesome season, and all the drama is going to come down. So believe it or not, Adam at 5 and 9 is, or 5 and 8, excuse me, I should say 5 and 8, is still in the hunt. So he's going to need a win, and based on the scheduling, again, he needs losses by all these teams: Brandon, Ross, Nate, and Mike. And it can happen because Adam plays Brandon, Ross, Nate, and Mike. None of them play each other. They all play someone else. So all 4 of these teams can lose if Adam wins. And let's put an and here. He must outscore all these 4 teams on the total score, because this will get Adam to 6 wins. All 4 of these teams would have 6 wins. And he's currently only minus .688 to Mike. So Mike is the big factor here. He owns the tiebreaker amongst all these other teams. But the closest one he is to is Adam. So if all 4 of these teams lose and Adam couldn't win, which means Adam would win, he has a chance. I mean, he can easily outscore Mike by 7 points. So he's certainly not out of it. Brandon, win and or losses. So he can win and or is the key term here. He's going to need a win and or lose losses by these guys and outscore these guys. So essentially what this means is if he wins and Ross, Nate, and Mike lose, he's in. But if he wins and any of these teams win, especially if Mike wins, he's going to need to outscore them on total score. So currently he's minus 100 points to Mike. He's a little closer to Ross and Nate, but I didn't want to spend all the time putting this on the slide. So Brandon, scenarios are there for you to get in. Along with Nate, same situation. Win, and he's in. If he gets losses by these 3 teams, or if he wins, he needs to outscore and or get losses. He's currently not minus 90 to Mike. So again, we're using Mike as the kind of the pedestal here because he has the tiebreaker over all these teams right now by a healthy margin. And again, Ross, same situation. He's currently minus 77 to Mike. So Mike, final one down here, win, and he's in for sure based on the points. Or he could lose with Nate, Brandon, and Mike, or I should say Nate, Brandon, and Ross losing, and still outscore them on total score, which again, I got a healthy margin here. So of the 6 and 7, 5 and 8 teams, Mike is in the healthiest spot, but again, anything can happen. All right, so one last time real quick, we'll just look at the Week 14 profile. Any comments? We got Rob Minat in the chat. Welcome, Rob. Woot. Appreciate you joining. We'll look at the matchups real quick for Week 14 and see what we can predict here. I mean, Raging Clue will jump off with this one versus Drake May. And Drake May is not playing this week. He's on bye. So that's a huge advantage to Kevin. He's got Baker Mayfield back and healthy. Chain's been a workhorse for him this year. We'll see what happens with Andrew with the Chargers running back. Either Vidal is going to be in or Hampton might be back finally. So some play there. We'll have to see what QB Andrew can get. But he's even with the QB in at 20 points, he's going to be down a healthy margin here to Kevin. So we like Kevin in this one, which means, again, we're going to have to see how that plays out. Andrew hopefully can keep within 10 points, 12 points, so I can get that bye. Really looking for that bye, but it's not trending well for him. McConkey Kong versus Never Gonna Give You Up. So again, Ryan has been eliminated sadly, but he is still going to put forth his best effort, as I'm sure, against Jess. That said, Jess is favored by 20 points here. She has the better team. Barkley's been a disappointment for Ryan this season. If he can get a spark out of him and some of his top wide receivers here, maybe he has a shot. Zay Flowers, that's been a disappointment for Jess, but she's been able to work around it. She drafted, smart draft by her. Shout out to her with getting Prescott and Jackson. He thought Jackson was going to be her QB of the season, but he's been pretty bad. So Prescott's been able to step in for her and put her in a good spot. She's got Bucky Irving back too, which could be huge for the playoff run. I mean, you hate to see that if you're an opposing team. I like Jess in this one. It'll come down to the points though, if she can get to the bye or not. And then we got Dash versus Trash. Trash trying to hang on. Dash was projected high about this point last week, and he only ended up about 90. So I think Trash has got a chance. He's going to have to get a good game out of the Knicks. Allen's got the Bengals this week, so 25, that's a healthy projection, and you think he's going to hit that playing the Bengals. And Taylor's been down for the last couple of weeks for Alex, but if he can bounce back too, that's such a high projection. You gotta look out for that. Genty, maybe he can have a game for Nate. We'll see. I mean, Nate's gonna play this one on hope. He's gonna need a lot of help, but if he can get it done, he's got a chance. I don't know if I don't see it. Let me know in the chat if you guys think Alex or think Nate has a chance in this one. Another see these schedules. See all these teams still have chances here. So Ross playing Scott. Scott's been eliminated, but Ross is still one of those 6 and 7 teams. He's going with Trevor Lawrence this week. Crazy play at QB. Scott, he had Burrow. Burrow's been out all season. That's one of the big reasons Scott, he struggled this year. He's gonna go with the guy. Put him back in. I love to see it. Love to see it for myself too with Chase, and he's got Higgins back healthy after he's been out with a concussion. So his running backs are the weakest part of his roster. This probably will come down to the running backs. We'll see how this game shakes out. Looks like it's a lot of 1 o'clock starts. This game might be determined. We got an 8:20 game though for Collins, so we'll see what happens. This game might come down. Travis Kelce, as Ross traded for him early in the season. It might come down to the Sunday night game here on this one. Interesting to see how it plays out. Adam versus Pickles again. Both teams still in the hunt here. Both teams sweating out with a low-scoring roster. We'll see what happens. We got Indiana Jones versus Mahomes. I'm going with some rough running backs here versus some studs, but they've been doing well this last couple of weeks, so you never know what can happen. On paper, you gotta favor Brandon in this one, but as we said before, Brandon's had a lot of up and down weeks. You don't know which team you're gonna get from him week to week. Finally, we got a very solid matchup here with Doc and Bijan. 103 to 100 is the projection. I mean, Mike's team's been really coming on strong as of late. He's got some studs at running back, but so does Rob. So got to favor Hurts here a little bit at the QB level. Some really good wide receivers in Jackson, Smith, and Adams. Brown's been coming on strong for Mike the last few weeks, which has been a huge improvement to his team. I look at these two guys for Rob, and you're wondering what's going on there. I'm going to have to lean Mike on this one. So, Millen's on bye, so that's a big play for Aaron Jennings. So, I can understand why Rob's playing those two dudes. Probably won't see them in the playoffs. So, all right. So, that's it, man. Week 14. Wow, the season flew by. Thanks you guys for joining the shows. I know the shows haven't been they've been very sporadic this year. Attendance has been sporadic, but hey, I appreciate anyone that joins and supports and is able to watch these. So thanks. We'll do a quick look at the Sweet Cheeks. Sweet Cheeks, all three teams are clinched in the division. We got the fourth team maybe making it. Mid-City, you got one for sure. One of these two maybe will make it. Except it could be one of 4 teams. And then Cream Crops are the top teams from last season. Overall, they have the worst record combined. So it's interesting how that kind of kind of shook out. The worst teams from the worst 4 teams from last year are the best 4 at a division level. The middle is still middle, and then the best 4 are the worst 4. I guess the parity works, right? Maybe nothing to do with draft order because we randomized that, but that's very interesting. I think it's kind of interesting to see. So we got Jess in for sure, and then one of these 2 teams is possible. McConkey Kong's out. So very great season. It's probably my last season playing. Maybe next year I can just be the commish. We'll see. And do the shows, which I would like. So any closing thoughts? I don't think so. I don't have my co-host. So that's it for it today, folks. Best of luck. Week 14. It's going to be huge. Hope to see everyone in the chat on Sunday. You all have a great evening, and thanks for watching.